what we like to do is see which tools they're using and which categories those tools are in. So like your accounting software, are you using QuickBooks? Do you have a way of communicating with your team? Do you use like Slack or Teams or something like that to help with communication? Do you have all these tool categories covered? And then we kind of help you navigate a map of maybe maybe since you're, say you for email, you like to use Office 365 instead of Gmail. Well, that may dictate other things that you have available to you to fill in your map. And then we start talking about your customer journey.
Welcome to the Business Ownership Podcast, brought to you by Awareness Strategies, helping you navigate the waters between entrepreneurship and ownership. Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelec, and I am super glad that you're here with us today because I'm here with my most amazing guest, Ben. Ben, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So give everybody the highlight of who you are and what you do for business.
Sure. So I'm Ben Johnson. I'm the CEO of Particle41. We're a software development consultancy that focuses on app modernization, DevOps, and data science.
Very cool. So we will get into all that. I have to laugh because for people that don't know what that is, you just said Greek stuff. So how did you get into software development as your thing?
Sure. So I'm a 5 times technical co-founder. Typically, I join a founder as their CTO or a technical co-founder. And so I started early on in my career. I did an online travel agency before there was things like the cloud. We built our own data center and did things that nobody was doing on the internet, like sell airline tickets. And it just evolved from there. I did a couple of travel marketing companies, but always really partnering with somebody with a great idea that needed to see it come to fruition on the internet.
I love it. So since then, you've been working with entrepreneurs, helping them to get software, but also you mentioned apps. So as silly of a question as this is, can I explain to people what is the difference between a software application, like full-blown software, and an app?
Sure. I think most people refer to apps in the mobile space. So they would say, hey, I need an app for the mobile phone. But an application is really anything that is built with software to serve a purpose. And we tend to do those custom applications. So more than just websites, we tend to do anything from back-end ERPs to manage amazing things uh, like for example, right now we're working with a marketing company to break up their old monolithic application into smaller microservices. Again, I'll use a bunch of Greek words, but we
That's
just
okay.
really
We'll translate. Stick around, peeps. We'll translate.
yeah. We just what we say is we do complex digital products right.
Right. So ERPs, if somebody has a ton of inventory and they need to be able to figure out how it works, yes. Are
Yeah,
there other?
ERP can be really any section of it's kind of a amalgamation of multiple tools: inventory management, order management, invoicing, back office, like general ledger, and it's all kind of rolled into one major tool. So ERPs are generally help an enterprise manage all their resources and data.
Right. So typically, and I'm just going to go, grade 5 level here is a restaurant has a ton of inventory. They have to buy all the ingredients, all the fun stuff. They make and produce their meals, and they have to be able to coordinate that. That's good use of an ERP. On the other end of the spectrum, you might have a plastics extrusion company that has to buy a ton of plastics and or parts for the machinery and things like that, put it together, and then sells the final products. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good definition.
Cool. So give me an example of kind of what industries might need ERPs that they don't necessarily know about it. They're still doing it old school. They're still on triple carbon copy paper. They have no clue what their inventory is. What are those?
Yeah, so we work with a lot of kind of like say small business clients or enterprise clients.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times what we'll do is we'll just simply, because an ERP is not for everybody, an ERP is a big subscription cost. And what we would rather do is make sure that we make stage appropriate decisions for the business. So We have this cool exercise that we do. It's like a periodic table of elements. Think of the thing you learned in chemistry with metals, gases, um, these kind of things that laid out. What we like to do is see which tools they're using and which categories those tools are in. So, like your accounting software, are you using QuickBooks? Do you have a way of communicating with your team? Do you use like Slack or Teams or something like that to help with communication? Do you have all these tool categories covered? And then we kind of help you navigate a map of maybe since you're, say you for email, you like to use Office 365 instead of Gmail. Well, that may dictate other things that you have available to you to fill in your map. And then we start talking about your customer journey around those sets of tools. What often happens is that as a business grows, they get tired of a lot of the integration that happens between those layers, and they've grown to have enough business. And so they look at ERPs to consolidate some of those tools into one already integrated platform. Um, and then we also talk about high need versus high value. So the high need things are great places to partner and find these vendors to help. But when you're in that high value tier, that's where we come in because we think that that's where it's best to customize. And custom solutions are really what are at the heart of what we do. We don't think it's a good idea to take off the shelf software and put that directly in front of your client and then try to tell the market that we're doing something different than everybody else. So we really try to focus on high value custom software. And but we want to help people navigate that whole map so they're not spending time on things that are already covered by the market.
Nice. So when it comes to people that have complex processes, and but they think that all I need is new accounting software. Yeah, and new accounting software that's going to solve all my problems. It'll take care of all my inventory, all my my accounts receivable, my accounts payable, and everything else I need in regards to my clients. How do you help them to see that importance of something that is scalable that they can then streamline their business with to take it to the next level?
Yeah. And I think that's where, when we lay out that chemistry map of business tools, right? We also start to say that, hey, the tool you have for accounting isn't good at inventory management. Um, and we'll position some of the different options that there might be for something like that. We'll go look and see what kind of inventory managers are out there, and start to suggest things. I've tried running big inventory projects with QuickBooks. It's okay, but it definitely is a little to be desired. And I think our experience helps us kind of navigate and see around corners to help them. But the cool thing about business is every business is going to have a different system that works through all of those high need tools.
Nice. Well, and I have noticed that entrepreneurs will say things like, well, I just need a website and then I just need a registration form. It's like, okay, you just exponentially complicated that. You have no clue. So how
Yeah.
do and I love the periodic table. Kind of walk me through what it looks like working with your clients so that I can kind of get an understand of how they start to understand the complexity of what they're asking for when they think they're asking for something simple in the back end is like, you kind of need something that you need software that can do the job you're asking for.
Yeah. So we first just really want to understand their business process and do a user journey,
Yep.
a user journey both of what does it take to find a customer, solicit them, sign them up for your product or service, and then move through fulfillment. So we want to definitely have that user journey. And then we also want to see what kinds of things are having to happen in the background or what pockets of work there are. And then we look for the best tools that maybe already exist or need to fit into that periodic table to best establish that. But it's a lot of asset value planning or workflow analysis to best see, because we also don't want people to overspend and think that the tool's just going to solve everything.
Yeah.
but we want to identify the right tool that fits into their existing ecosystem. I hope that answered your question, but it's not there's no like silver bullet. It takes some collaboration.
Well, hopefully I've sparked some questions with our listeners and they're going, Ben, I just need to get and tell you, how does this work for me? But that's okay. Give us an example of kind of one of the more fun projects you had or something that was a little bit different. And you're going, oh, that's kind of neat.
Sure. So, I think a good example, oh, I have so many. One of my favorite clients is building a marketplace for music teachers. So, if you have kids that you want to give access to the best music teachers, sometimes, kids, we might live in rural areas or we might not live in a big city. But to give them access to something like a Juilliard music instructor or somebody who's really great at teaching, the brand that we worked for is really breaking down those barriers. And we built a digital classroom or a digital one-on-one music lesson session where it's like Zoom, but better. It's optimized for music, not just voice. And it allows the teacher and the student to have a solid one-on-one conversation. There's also a pane for music if they want to see the music at the same time. And it just allowed the teacher and student to come together and have a music lesson. And so we launched that prototype in 90 days so that they could establish relationships with music teachers and kind of get both sides, the students and the teachers, starting to work together and test the platform. And now they're thriving. They just did a joint marketing with the Grammys at the last award show, and it's great to see them grow and use that one-on-one music lesson experience that we built.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is so much fun. So when they came to you, what kind of problems did they present you with? They say, hey, we need to get online, or where were they at?
They basically said, "Hey, we don't think this exists in the market. We've looked, and we don't think there's a tool that is optimized for music lessons."
Hmm.
And they could do sound tests on other leading video conferencing software, like play a sustained note and the note would get cut because the noise
Noise canceling.
canceling software doesn't know that, hey, that's not noise, that's actually a note. You
I
want
want
that
to
to
hear
play
that.
out, and that the bit rates were limited. And so we started to do so they were just saying, hey, this doesn't exist, we think there could be a better solution. And so we immediately dove into just creating a very minimal prototype to test that theory to see if we could get a note to sustain. So we had like a flute test where we'd ring a champagne flute and hear the sound, or play a sustained note on a violin and hear the sound. And then, we were able to crank up the bit rate on, browser to browser communication.
That is super fun. So when it comes to kind of the breadth and width of your clientele, kind of, if you can, give me kind of, this is the exaggeration of we get these kind of clients and we get that kind of client.
Yeah. So we have a small team that's writing applications for VR headsets. Our client is a safety company, and so they want to have a safe environment to teach people how to do things for the first time. So forklift operation, how to handle a ladder, how to handle a patient safely. These are very difficult things to just go test in the real world, and they have a lot of risk in a training environment. So by creating the VR apps, our client is able to sell these experiences that lower the risk of first-time training. And so that would be on the one side of kind of building apps, but for specific tailored devices. And then on the other hand, we're doing application modernization, where large enterprises who are very successful with their software, but their software is very dated, and we're helping lead them through a process to take their older legacy systems that are very much running their business and set up a large scale team that migrates them to the cloud. So the industry calls this app modernization or cloud migration. And we love to do the application work that is preparing the business to kind of reinvest their software footprint into the cloud. So
Nice.
this is a little different than purpose-built apps for mobile or for VR.
Right.
This is more along the lines of a large-scale operation for an established enterprise that wants to kind of level up their tech.
Nice. I'm loving this conversation. In a moment, I'm going to ask you about a Cinderella story of one of your clients, but in the meanwhile, we are going to take a quick.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention, you do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap, they offer full implementation as well if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.
So I am super excited with your stories, loving your client portfolio. Give us an example of a Cinderella story of one of your clients.
Yeah, so last year we started engaging with an enterprise client. We needed to do an application modernization. Their tech stack was probably about at least 15 years old, and they were starting to feel the heaviness of maintenance. They were hiring a lot of engineers and just kind of not getting anywhere. And then customers started to complain about slow. And we love to talk that we fix slow. Now, slow could be for two reasons. One is you need maybe you have a skills gap and your team is kind of doing a lot of on-the-job training, and we can come in with some of our expertise because we've seen 38 clients over the last 18 months. So we know what works and what doesn't and have the scar tissue to prove it.
Right.
So we jump in and we fix slow both from a process point of view, but also in this particular instance, we were able to do a few modifications to the way that their tech stack worked. And we were able to get a 65% performance increase across their main system. So imagine
Nice.
65% less waiting for your user, pages were loading snappier, but also 65% less resources were being used in the cloud. So things were running, cheaper, and the customers were happier. And so we were really excited to be able to do three separate increases, or performance boosts through three separate changes that just stacked the performance gains. And yeah, we truly were able to fix slow in that
Nice.
use case.
Nice. And I don't know how that translates, but I know that it can be, depending on the size of a company, millions of dollars. Because even when you have a slow website, people will bounce off it and you lose that client completely. So you have no revenue off of that. So being able to
Yeah,
calculate,
and sometimes
being able to,
it's kind of a silent problem, like
right?
but yeah, if you are certainly if somebody is experiencing slow anything,
Okay.
slow delivery times or slow performance, we're a great team to call just because we love to fix slow. And we like the double meaning there, so yeah, we fix slow. Give us a call and we jump in and help with that.
I love it. It was one of the other things that I don't think people realize. They think this is just the process that people have to go through when they sign up, and to the point where they go to fulfillment. They got to sign their contracts, and that's going to take time to go back and forth. And they've got to do this, and that's going to take time to go back. They don't realize that the customer's journey can actually be slower than it needs to be when it comes to the delivering of contracts and invoices and give me an example of kind of how that process has improved for you guys, if you can.
Yeah, so just when we do that regular process mapping and look
Yeah.
at the different touch points, we're also looking for fall off. And then we
Mm,
fix slow by maybe, when you send out an invoice and you don't get a signature, or you send out a quote and you don't get a signature, you send reminders. Like, oh, wow, we can automate those reminders and that speeds up the process. My business is heavily weighted on booking an appointment. I love it when people book an appointment with me, and just I think that fixes slow for me because we cut right to the chase. We don't have to, I love Calendly because it just gets us booked on a meeting, and then So yeah, just in those like normal business processes, we love to look at what could help you fix slow and prevent those drop-offs. Yeah, and
Nice.
just kind of like optimize the overall process.
And talk to me a little bit about kind of the smaller businesses that you can go into and do the kind of the fractional work with them. What does that look like?
Yeah, so many entrepreneurs are, they're still working in the business.
Mhm.
They know that they have a revenue target. They want to get to that first 100 million, 200, 300 million in total sales.
Yep.
But they are like they can't imagine themselves not doing the work. And so, what we help with is like goal setting. So, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? How do you do mission, values? Make sure you have those fundamentals of your culture. And then looking at your balance sheet and seeing, like, hey, how could I bring some people in to start replacing me as the CEO or as the entrepreneur and start leveling myself up so that I have some time to work on the business, not just in the business. And so, over the years of doing CTO advisory, I've established really for my own benefit a set of playbooks to help folks to get through those large system integrations or large bottlenecks or choke points where they may be maybe just kind of stuck at their current amount of revenue. And we need to do this because there's a lot of value in a business. If you're running a business like a lifestyle business, it will certainly stagnate. But if you start tracking the right things and working on the business, you can actually turn that into an asset that would eventually create an upside for you and your family that would allow you to have a lot of freedom. So
Nice. Well, I love the playbooks because it helps you to focus on what you need to be focused on, not what you think you need to be focused on.
yeah,
And I know a
totally.
lot of entrepreneurs need that. So how do they start that journey with you?
So on LinkedIn, I'm very accessible. I have a book appointment link right there on LinkedIn. Our website, particle41.com, also book an appointment and you get straight through to have a consultation with me. And we see which of our programs is most accessible to you, whether it be a CTO advisor or you have some digital transformation that you want to start.
We will have, of course, all of Ben's links in the show notes. So go ahead and scroll down, click on the links. Of course, I would expect no less than for you to have a Calendly link available and open it up in a new browser because we're not done yet. You know it. So Ben, I get to ask you, at what point in life did you know you were especially kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur?
Oh man, I had a paper route when I was 13 years old. Yeah, no, I had a paper route, and back then, not only did you have to deliver the paper at 5 o'clock every morning, but you also had to go door to door and ask for your money. So I was the kid knocking on the door, give me my $7, and I lived on my route. So yeah, I knew then that if I wanted to live the life that I wanted, that I would have to do it myself, and I've enjoyed being an intrapreneur in all the businesses that I've joined. Not necessarily an entrepreneur, but treating the business as if it was mine, and really, really melding myself to the culture has been just an MO since day one.
You bring up a great point with the entrepreneur concept is how valuable do you think that is not only to the individual that is the entrepreneur, but to the business having entrepreneurs in their businesses?
It's an extremely hard thing to find, I'll be quite honest.
Mhm.
But when you do, I mean, those are the people that grow to be on your executive team with you, because they're really analyzing what's best for the business, not just like they're advocating for the business, not just themselves or their team. And I think that's an essential quality for being, on an executive team. But it's also the typical, when I see board members or I see C-suite executives, that is a common characteristic, is really thinking about the business as an organism that you're there to help, and having a well-rounded objective perspective about it is a great characteristic to grow.
Super helpful. Thank you so much. So, Ben, you've been absolutely fantastic. Any last words for our peeps?
Um, you've asked a lot of great like basic entrepreneur that environment. So I would just give out a shout out to Donald Miller's books like Business Made Simple, These kinds of books would really help entrepreneurs move from in the business to on the business, and they're very approachable business books. So if you're looking for a place to start, I would just give a shout out to Donald Miller and the Made Simple series that he's put a lot of work into. That's usually my first recommendation to folks wanting to grow in their business journey.
Nice. And to our enterprise individuals that are looking for help in their IT?
Well, give me a call. Let's see where your gaps are and see what you're up to. I love helping people solve their problems.
I love it. Ben, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and I know how valuable it is.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Peeps, this is Michelle Nedelec. Thank you for being here with us today. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your friends. We love helping entrepreneurs grow.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention, you do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap, they offer full implementation as well if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.